components of a CV. I'm also going to give you an example of a bad CV versus a good one. And then I'm also going to give you some hints on how to make your CV stand out above the rest. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about components of a CV. I'm going to break it down for you in steps to make it very easy for you to complete. Now, first step is the contact information. What's included here is your name. Now, with your name, it's important to know what country or what company you're applying to. Some countries may prefer for you to put your last name first, and others may prefer for you to put your first name first. So make sure you do your research and know what company you're applying for. Next is your email. Your email, what's important here is to focus on making sure that it's appropriate for a business setting, and also making sure that it's up to date. And then you also want to include your address and your phone number, and those are the components of your contact information. Now moving on to step 2, we're going to be talking about filling out your personal summary. This section can also be called your profile or your personal statement. In this section, it's important for you to let the employers know exactly who you are. What's your professional identity? This section should be kept short, concise, but to the point. So let me give you an example sentence to illustrate this. The first one is, I'm an established sales manager with a proven track record of exceeding sales targets for 3 consecutive years. In this one sentence, the candidate was able to really build himself up by saying that he's established, that he's proven, and that he's succeeded. And not only did he build himself up, but he backed it up with an example. He had exceeded sales targets for 3 consecutive years. That is a very important point to mention. You have to back it up with an example. Now say you don't have as much professional experience as this candidate, and that's perfectly fine. You could still build yourself up, and here is an example sentence for you to do so. I'm a highly motivated graduate that was able to obtain 2 years of part-time sales experience while balancing school. In this sentence, you are still building yourself up by saying that you are motivated and that you balance. An employer knowing that you're able to do many things at once is really telling them that you are a strong candidate for the job. I think that these are 2 great ways to start out your personal summary. So moving on to step 3 is the skills section, or also called the areas of expertise. Now in the previous section, you've already told the employer who you are. Now it's time to tell them what you're really good at. In this section, you want to highlight the key skills that are relevant to the job you're applying for. So, in the skills section, we break it down into 2 parts, your personal skills and your professional skills. Now let's take a look at some examples of this. Your personal skills could be your communication skills, your ability to express your ideas. It can also be your attention to detail, your teamwork ability, your ability to work with others. And for professional skills, it more depends on what job you're applying for. So take for example, we apply for a marketing position. You want to mention that you're creative, that you're able to predict the market's trend, and that you're able to establish relationships with customers. Now, for this section, you just want to make sure that you change it for whatever job you apply for, to put the strongest skills at the forefront so that your employers know that you're capable of doing the job. Moving on to step 4, we're talking about filling out the education portion of your CV. Now, many freshly graduated college students tend to lack confidence in applying for jobs because they don't have much experience in the industry. A secret to this is you can just make the education your experience. So it depends on how you word it. First off, your education should start with your degree. What degrees do you hold? What certificates do you hold? When did you earn them? Also, you should mention your academic achievements. Were you on the dean's list? Were you on the president's list? Those are very important details to mention. Also, talk about extracurricular activities. What did you do above and beyond school? What did you do in your free time? Were you involved in volunteer work? Were you involved in clubs? Did you hold leadership positions? Those are things that employers look for when they're looking at your CV during the education section. Now moving on to step 5, I'm going to talk about experience. This is where you talk about all the jobs you've held and you would list them in reverse chronological order. Now the details that you would include is the company name, the position that you held, how long you held the position, as well as the job description. Now, for this example, this person worked at Bank of America. He was a personal banker, and he worked there from 2008 to 2013. Now, notice how when he lists the job description, he used action verbs to start out the sentence. Educate customers of banking products and services. Resolve banking issues for customers in multiple languages. Increase customer satisfaction scores to 80% for 6 months. Now this is a great technique to list the job description and also list the accomplishments that you've done during the job. Now there's no certain order when it comes to experience or education. It really depends on where you find your strength. If you feel like education is more your strength and you have not yet had the experience, you feel confident in listing it first, then list education first. If you feel like you've had enough experience in the industry, then list the experience section first. So it's really up to you.
So now we're going to compare a good CV versus a bad CV. So let's take a look at the bad CV. At the top, you will notice that curriculum vitae is written. You do not need the words curriculum vitae at the top because it is obvious what this document is. It will just add clutter to the CV. And if you do put it up the top, you should at least spell it correctly. So now moving on to the address. You do not need an address title above your address because it is pretty obvious what it is. Now, moving on to the nationality. This is not needed when writing a CV, so you could just take that off. Now, moving on to the personal statement. If you take a look at the personal statement section, you'll notice that personal statement is misspelled. Also, the skills that are listed are not provided with any evidence. So moving down to education, you will notice that the candidate wrote her education in chronological order. This is incorrect. You should write your education in reverse chronological order. Also, the institutions that are listed are written in different font. Moving on to the bottom, you notice that the work experience was split onto 2 pages. Moving on with work history, this candidate did not give much information on the skills that she acquired at this job. When you take a look at her interests, you'll notice that it is misaligned with the rest of the page. Her interests are also inconsistent and are not at all relevant to the job that she is applying for. On the skills section, you'll also notice that what is listed is inconsistent. If you take a look at computing, it is misspelled as commuting. This person used poor judgment by using a mixture of dashes and asterisks. So moving on to the good CV, you will notice that the layout of the CV is much more eye-appealing. So starting out with the name, it is in large font and it stands out. The address is very neatly typed and is in space-saving format. She kept her personal statement concise and only targeted the skills that are required for the job. This candidate is a recent graduate and felt that her education is her strongest selling point. She did a great job in typing it out first and also mentioning all the related coursework that she has taken. Moving on to the next page, work experience. She correctly listed her work experience in reverse chronological order. She included all the necessary components and also focused on the skills she developed while on the job. Looking at her interests, you'll notice that she divided them into groups. She flags down a key skill by starting out with leadership. She also provides a nice statement on how she demonstrated the skill. Now lastly, the skills section of her CV. They are listed in simple but effective bullets, which give clarity to the page. Computing would be considered her professional skills, while languages and driving would be her personal skills.